Hey, look, guys. It's me, Shock. I'm in California, and it's raining. Yes. Is this global warming? Is this more proof of global warming? What a bunch of malarkey. You know, with this whole global warming thing, they measured the global warming, and the Earth has always warmed up and cooled down. It's like a cycle, like the stock market charts. And it cooled down practically to where it was before when it warmed up. But no one's talking about that, so global warming's a scam. Hey, listen, speaking of scams, I want to ask you guys a question about atheism. I was in the chat room the other night, and we were talking about our upcoming radio show. And by the way, we are doing a radio show, a pro-life radio show, on the 24th at 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. That's like 12 in the afternoon, California, right here at shockonl.net. Shock Radio. And so I was talking to some people, and I had a bunch of folks in the chat room, and they didn't understand. They go, what I don't understand about atheism is that it doesn't make sense why people would preach atheism. If they kept it to themselves, I think people would maybe see a little hint of rationality there. But what happens is this guy told me this, and he had a good point. He goes, Shock, every atheist, when you talk to them, they go, well, I believe the body doesn't resurrect, it just goes into the dirt. They don't believe, like what Jesus said, that we will resurrect, that we will be with Christ. Paul in the Bible says absent from the body is to be present with the Lord if you're a Christian. So I can understand a Christian preaching the gospel because Jesus spoke of hell more than any other person in the Bible. He warned of hell. I mean, it was a real place that he's talking about. It wasn't a metaphor. He talks about what will it profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul, and what can you give in place of your soul. So there is a hell. Let that sink in. So it does make sense if someone's a Christian and they are preaching what Jesus told them to do. You know, Jesus said, go into all the world and preach the gospel. And so we do that. It makes sense. There is a heaven, there is a hell. However, atheism doesn't make sense. I was talking to an atheist. I said, well, why are you preaching atheism? Do you believe that when I die, I'm just going to go into the dirt and there's nothing else, and that's where you're going to? And he's like, yes. And I said, well, then why preach it? If you really believed it, then the default position would be just don't do anything, and you and I end up in the dirt. And he kind of stuttered a bit, and I'm just telling you because I want you to be, enlightened. I go, well, what if you didn't tell me and I wasn't enlightened? I thought you said that I'm going to end up in the dirt anyways. He goes, well, yeah. And I go, it doesn't make sense. Atheism, if it was true, you didn't have to do anything. You don't even have to open your mouth and speak it. Hold on, I got to get over here. This truck is... So it doesn't make sense that an atheist would become an evangelical atheist. I was talking to a pastor friend of mine, and that's what he called them. He goes, they're evangelical atheists. It is a religion. They collect money for their cause. They preach their cause. They recruit people to their cause. It's a religion, the humanist religion of atheism. So what do you think, guys? I want your comments below. Why do you think atheism has to preach when their own belief system in atheism is that you end up in the dirt when you die anyways, and there's nothing after that? If atheism was true, wouldn't it be true that they don't have to do anything and the end result is still the same? So the question is, why then are there evangelical atheists preaching? I mean, just look at YouTube, they're preaching it. I know why, and you know why, because they don't believe it. they don't believe it. But if they can get feedback from another atheist, someone else that also believes in the fairy tale of atheism, then what happens, they feel better about their life here. They don't fear what is to come next. That's the only thing it could be. I was talking to this atheist, I go, I just don't get the logic of it. But of course, if you guys want to hear a really good show, go right here to shockonow.net, Shock Radio, and listen to the show I did titled, quote, The Madness of Atheism, unquote, where I asked atheists to provide proof and evidence that atheism was accurate and correct, and they could not do it. And at the end of this video, you're going to see a pop-up appear where I take on 4 atheists on their radio show, and I totally dominate the radio show as I challenge them to provide proof and evidence that atheism is accurate and correct. For over 15 minutes, they could not do it. You're going to see an annotation right here. You can click it. It'll be towards the end of the video. And they could not provide proof and evidence that atheism was accurate and correct. It was madness. So, why do you guys think, I'd love to know your opinion, especially if you're in the humanist religion of atheism, why do you think that atheists preach atheism? There's obviously no benefit to society that it produces. I don't know of any. Look how beautiful it is. This is California, Inland Empire. Beautiful. So there's really no benefit that it produces in this life. Christianity can offer much more benefits in this life than atheism. I'm living proof of that. I used to be in the humanist religion of atheism, and I left it for Jesus Christ. And why is this guy going all over the road? So it can't be that the benefits in this life are more. Now, it can't be the next life, because atheism preaches in an evangelical way. Atheism preaches that you just go into the dirt. Your body does not resurrect. It actually conflicts with what Jesus said. I'm going to go with Jesus, the person that changed world history more than anybody in world history, the most famous person in world history. I'm going to go with Jesus. I just don't get it, you guys. I'm scratching my head. So here's one last statement, and then I'll let you guys type below. And by the way, you'll see that annotation. You can hear me call up and talk with 4 atheists at one time. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. And I dominated, in a very humble way, I will say, I dominated their radio show by pointing out that there is no proof and evidence that atheism is accurate and correct. But the question below I want to hear from you is, if atheists believe that we go into the dirt anyways, then what's the big hubbub, bub? What's the big hubbub? In other words, they got to teach you got to become an atheist. Why? Well, because you're going to go into the dirt if you become an atheist. Well, I thought you said I'm going to go into the dirt anyways, and that's it. Even if I'm a Christian. Well, yeah, but see, it doesn't make sense. What's the big urgency of being an evangelical preacher of atheism? It doesn't make sense to me. It is madness. It is irrational. You know, we got one of the prophets of atheism, Richard Dawkins, who admits that God could exist. That's scary. If I was an atheist, I would be terrified to be an atheist. You got all these atheists saying God could exist. This is not looking good for atheism. No. I would be doubting, very sincerely, I would be doubting atheism. You know, Wikipedia says that, and you go to Wikipedia, it says that one of the points on atheism is to the contrary, that it leaves life meaningless and miserable. That's what it says. So if you, watching this, are an atheist and you have a life that is meaningless and miserable like Wikipedia says, maybe you should rethink your position. Anyways, here comes the annotation, and also I'll see you at shockonow.net. Click that annotation that pops up and you can hear me take on not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 atheists and win brilliantly on live radio.